Welcome back to the deep dive. We have an absolutely massive stack of source material you've sent our way, and today we're going to be synthesizing all of that intricate lore.
Yeah, this one is. It's a big one. We're jumping into a world that is just defined by these ancient curses and this massive geopolitical fracture.
And we're really going to be focusing on two central figures who are, well, they're caught right in the middle of it all, stuck between destiny and total destruction.
It's just the ultimate high-stakes setup, isn't it? When you look at the two of them, Zavander and Maveth, the tension is just, it's baked into their very existence.
How so?
Well, think about the contradiction. How can you have two people who are marked by this immense, terrifying power and also some kind of divine favor?
Right.
And be fated to be each other's only anchor, their only point of stability.
While also being the very tools for the world's complete annihilation.
Exactly. That contradiction is the engine that drives this entire narrative. It's fascinating.
It is. And we're not just dealing with, a standard good versus evil fantasy conflict here. This world is completely fractured.
Utterly. By its geography, for one.
And by these clashing religious fanatics.
Yeah.
You've got the dark dogma of the Red God going up against the ancient worship of this death goddess Morsana.
And layered on top of all that is this complex system of magical and really biological traits that determine if you're going to be seen as blessed or if you're going to be hunted down and persecuted.
So our mission today for you is to get a quick but really thorough understanding of these key players. Zavander, who is essentially a vessel of destruction.
And Maveth, who is the vessel of restoration. We really need to dissect their powers, the trauma that fuels them, and the insane political and magical conflicts they're trying to navigate.
Right. And to do that, we have to explore the landscape. We'll be talking about the Umbra Veil, which is this chasm. There's both a border and a deadly weapon in itself.
We'll also get into this psychological sanctuary, and I use that term loosely, called Caligorya. It's basically a mind prison built by a dark mage.
And crucially, we have to understand the global implications of the Eldritch glyph. This incredibly complicated symbol that grants world-shaking power, and how it all connects to a life force they call vivicantum.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack.
Okay, let's start with the world itself then, because the division isn't just about, different kingdoms with different flags. The geography is an active, lethal policy. It's designed to enforce separation.
That's the perfect way to put it. The biggest feature is what the texts call the Great Divide.
Etheria versus Mortasia.
Separated by this just impossibly vast chasm, the Umbra Veil.
And what immediately strikes you about the Umbra Veil is that it's not just a canyon or a mountain range.
No, not at all. It feels, well, the sources describe it as almost sentient, a lethal, magical barrier. The scale is immense, and it separates this zealot-controlled, incredibly oppressive regime in Mortasia from what's supposed to be the land of safety, Etheria.
And the rule for crossing it is just brutally simple.
Rigid is the word. Only individuals who are described as Etherians true of blood and purpose are even allowed to try to cross.
And the cost of failure, it's absolute.
It is. If you're deemed, untrue of purpose, or if you're not an Etherian and you try it, you just fall. A terrifying instant fall to your death into this black chasm below.
Which creates an almost insurmountable barrier between our two main characters who start on opposite sides of this abyss.
That constraint is massive. It immediately raises the tension around any kind of travel or escape. But the source material does introduce this this intriguing bit of speculation.
The blood solution.
Exactly. The possibility of a loophole.
And this comes up specifically around Maveth, because she's technically immortal, but she has Etherian blood in her lineage.
The theory is that a non-Etherian might be able to cross if they're bonded to a true Etherian through an exchange of blood.
It's this idea that the world's magic system recognizes a deep biological connection as a kind of proxy identity.
I think so. But it's Zavander, the pragmatist, who just dismisses it. He thinks it's way too risky.
Well, his point is that a simple exchange of blood doesn't fundamentally change who you are. It wouldn't make you a true Etherian in the eyes of the Umbra Veil.
And a failure still means a lethal drop. So the stakes are ultimate.
But the very fact that they even speculate about it raises a question for me. Is this just foreshadowing, or does it hint at something deeper about Maveth's unique Corvicae bloodline?
That's a great point. Maybe her blood has properties that could, circumvent the true of blood rule in a way that normal mortal blood can't.
The risk is insane, but the payoff a bridge across the world's most dangerous border is enormous.
And that border separates two completely different realities. Let's look at Mortasia, the realm of the Red God.
Hades, as he's named.
Right, Khedides. The atmosphere there is just overwhelmingly oppressive. It's all darkness and this relentless religious zealotry.
You can even see it in the architecture. The Red Temple, for instance, over the village of Wraithmire, or Crovenrock Temple.
The descriptions are terrifying. A dark silhouette with these sharp, pointed spires that just seem to pierce the sky. It's a symbol of this rigid, unforgiving power structure.
And this is the stronghold for zealots like Mother Vona.
Mother Vona's character instantly establishes the danger of Mortasia. She's the one who famously accuses a woman of birthing a demon.
Just because a baby had silver eyes.
Yes, that single arbitrary detail eye color becomes a death sentence. And this is critical because Maeve, our other protagonist, has those exact same traits. So from birth, she's marked as an abomination by the dominant power structure.
And all this persecution is tied to a much older religious conflict. It shows the world isn't just divided by geography, but by faith.
It's a constant clash. You have the followers of the Red God, Khedides, versus the much older indigenous Laverian worship of the death goddess, Morsana.
The sources show exactly how brutally this ideological war is fought on the ground, too.
Oh, absolutely. Look at Maeve's own father. He was imprisoned not for a physical crime, but for heresy.
What was his crime?
He dared to share a vision that was given to him by a Laverian priestess, this prophecy. It was a terrifying vision of the end of the world.
And for the followers of the Red God, that wasn't a warning to be taken seriously.
No, it was blasphemy. It was a direct challenge to their authority. For them, any prophecy that doesn't come from their God is, by definition, an attack.
It's fascinating how a concept like the end of the world can be weaponized.
Mm.
For the Laverians, it's a necessary cleansing. For Khedides' followers, it's subversive propaganda.
Exactly. The Red God's whole dogma seems to be based on maintaining this rigid, controlled status quo. Anything that threatens that order is dangerous and must be stamped out.
So perception is reality in Mortasia. And if your perception doesn't align with the temples, you're the enemy.
Precisely. Now, if we trace the history of our main characters, we find these specific nightmarish locations that aren't just backdrops. They're the scenes of foundational trauma.
Let's start with the entrance to the Eating Woods.
Just the name alone tells you so much. The entrance is marked by these vining branches that have twisted themselves around weathered human bones.
It's a clear, horrifying sign. This is a place where life is consumed.
And this is where we get that pivotal moment in Maeve and Zivander's shared history, years before they actually meet.
The Crone Witch. She lived on the edge of the woods, and she intervened to protect the infant Maeve.
Yes, she stopped a young boy who was about to harm the baby. And she didn't just stop him. She enacted this powerful ancient protection magic.
The curse.
The curse. Maledicio Jatutur nomed Vetusa Diosium. I curse you by the name of the ancient gods.
That language is so specific. Ancient gods. She's directly challenging the legitimacy of the Red God who rules the land.
And the consequence was instant and physical. A sizzling, burning sign was seared into the boy's hand.
An image of 5 stars and a moon.
More than that, the curse hooked itself directly into his heart. It gave him this prophetic identity, the banished.
And that boy, of course, was Zivander.
It's the origin point of his unique curse. This single act, meant to protect infant Maeve, established his lifelong burden of destruction and isolation. Their fates were woven together from that moment.
From the dark mythology of the woods, we shift to a much more political and social horror. The mines.
Bone grist, or just grist. This place is synonymous with Zivander's formative torture.
The sources describe it as just a machine of systematic degradation.
They explicitly state that its function is to thin the population. New prisoners are pitted against each other in these forced, brutal fights to the death.
It's perverse entertainment for the guards.
And the trauma isn't just the violence, it's the engineered deprivation. It is all designed for degradation and dependency.
You have to look at the prisoner diet.
It's awful. A soggy, barely edible mix of grains, fat, and rotted meat scraps. But here's the crucial detail. The sources note this is their only source of vivicantum.
This vital life force. So his body, his mind, they're literally conditioned from a young age to rely on this disgusting, meager ration of life force just to function.
It is his absolute baseline. Zivander isn't just physically hardened by the mines. His entire neurological and physiological system is wired for dependency.
And if he doesn't get that life force,
his stability completely collapses, which is the perfect transition into who he is as a character. His constant, desperate need for vivicantum is a direct result of the horrific conditions in those mines.
That deep dive into the mines and Vivicantum brings us perfectly into our second section, which is all about Zavander. His entire life is this tragic study in how world-ending power is often fueled by just, ceaseless, directed trauma.
And you have to start with the source of his burden, the nature of Sablefire and Dememus.
The Black Flame.
Right. Zavander is the subject of this potent, lifelong curse that is tied directly to Sablefire and to Deimos, the god of Sablefire and destruction. He is literally a vessel for a god's destructive impulse.
And the manifestation of this curse is extremely detailed. It's not just some, general bad luck. Yeah. It's a physical brand.
A strange, seared symbol on his skin. He calls it the root of my curse.
And it contains endless tiny glyphs.
It's so much more than a tattoo. It feels like a binding contract. This mark seals him as a vessel, and it's intrinsically tied to his immense and often utterly uncontrollable power.
The symbolism is so stark. The power that should grant him freedom is instead a physical shackle that makes him the ultimate target.
A target for manipulation and control. And that control, paradoxically, often takes place inside his own head.
Within the sanctuary of Caligoria.
Yeah, and sanctuary is not the word I would use. It sounds more like a high-security internal black site.
It's described as a swap of consciousness.
A mental space created for him by Alastor, who we later find out is the dark mage Cadavros. And Caligoria serves two profoundly conflicting purposes.
On the one hand, it's protection.
It is. It's the mental refuge he escapes to when the physical abuse in the real world becomes too much to bear.
But on the other hand, Cadavros immediately capitalizes on that. He turns this supposed sanctuary into a training ground.
A place for dangerous, secretive, magical training. Precisely. It's where Zavander is taught the secret to ultimate power. The Eldritch glyph, Exicius.
And this isn't easy to learn. It's a highly complicated symbol.
Cadavros demands he remember every line and point. The slightest mistake could result in catastrophic failure. The goal is clear. Grant him world-shaking power, but only under the manipulative guidance of his supposed teacher.
And it's important to note, he finds it incredibly difficult, almost impossible, to successfully wield Exicius outside of that controlled mental realm of Caligoria.
Which just underlines Cadavros' calculation. He's created a psychological space where Zavander is safe enough to learn the most powerful magic in the world.
While also limiting his ability to use that power against him in the physical world.
Exactly. And the existence of the sanctuary is crucial because it highlights the sheer horror of the physical reality he's escaping from.
That contrast, mental refuge versus physical hell, is the core tragedy of his story. We have to talk about the abuse he suffers, particularly from General Lois.
Lois's assaults are not random. They are systematic. They are designed for ultimate psychological submission. When Zavander can't retreat into his mind, the abuse is meant to break his will entirely.
There are physical assaults, of course, but the sources detail a particularly insidious form of torture. The piercings.
The multiple ritualistic piercings. And they weren't just decorative or meant to inflict pain.
No, their intent was something much deeper.
It was profound psychological destruction. Lois intended for those piercings to specifically sever any potential for romantic or emotional bonds. The text says to ensure he would never know pleasure nor satisfaction and fulfillment with another.
It's a mechanism of ownership.
Completely. By stripping him of the ability to form a genuine connection, she's trying to force his dependency entirely onto her, his abuser.
And the sources show the tragic cost of this environment when Zavander tries to maintain a human connection, specifically with the other prisoner, Valora.
The demand for a forced sexual assault against Valora, which then leads to her brutal death in the Charnolith pit. It's Lois's most insidious weapon.
The calculated destruction of hope.
She makes sure that anyone Zavander trusts or cares about is either destroyed or turned against him. Valora's death confirms that the trauma Zavander carries isn't just his own suffering, but the agonizing guilt of surviving the destruction of the few people who ever showed him kindness.
All of this systematic trauma underpins his perpetual fight for control, the fight over Vivicantum, his rage, and his fraying reality.
He desperately needs Vivicantum. We talked about it from the mines. He needs it to stabilize his mind and body.
And this dependency isn't just psychological, it's physiological.
Oh, absolutely. When his supply is low, the source material explicitly links this to catastrophic consequences. He suffers violent fits of rage, his eyes blacken entirely.
A sign of the sable fire taking over.
Right, and he has these terrifying hallucinations. The lines of reality just blur completely.
The sources give us that horrifying example where he almost stabs Maeve in one of these fits.
Because he's not seeing her, he's seeing the faces of his dead father and Valora. He can't distinguish between the living and the dead, the present and the past.
What's fascinating here is the almost scientific explanation for his needs. The source material notes that the iron in animal blood, like from the rabbit he hunts, acts as a weaker, temporary form of Vivicantum.
That detail is so crucial. It elevates his consumption of blood from just some monstrous urge to a medical necessity for mental stability. He's essentially an addict, and his drug is life force itself.
And while he's in prison, we also get this massive piece of context about his past, specifically his father's role in their fate.
Yes, his father confesses this terrible truth. He murdered a woman, he was an axeman, and he thought he was executing a dangerous demutomancer monster.
That he's wrong.
Horribly wrong. He realized too late she was actually the abused mother of King Jarrett's bastard children.
So the father, acting out of this skewed sense of justice, kills an innocent woman and then burns her cottage to cover it up. How does this connect directly to Zavander being in the mines?
That act is what sealed their fate. The woman he killed was connected to the king, and the investigation that followed led to their entire family's downfall and imprisonment.
So it's a generational curse, karmic retribution.
It seems so. Zavander, the son, is now enduring this unimaginable abuse as payment for his father's violent, misguided act.
This all just reinforces the chilling obsession of General Loyce. She's identified as a half-Mancer, half-Orgoth Zephyrmite.
And she sees Zavander as more than a prisoner. He is a prize, a thing to be acquired and mastered.
She uses everything. Physical assault, psychological torture, the ritual mutilation with the piercings. It's all to dismantle him.
And her goal is singular, to force a bond. She wants to leverage his immense destructive power.
She literally tells him that bonding with her is the condition for your freedom. What's the psychological game there?
It's total control masquerading as liberation. She knows she can't truly break his spirit, so she wants to redirect it, bond with him, and ensure that when his power is finally unleashed, it's on her command.
But his resistance is what's so incredible.
It's why she values him. He tells another prisoner, Theron, that he would sooner be crushed to dust than attempting to convince myself that I belong to her. He is the most difficult prize, and controlling him would be her ultimate proof of power.
Okay, let's shift gears. We move now to Maeve, the other side of this coin, the restorative, stabilizing half of this cosmic partnership.
Right, Section 3. Maeve's divine connection and her evolving powers. Her journey is just as dangerous and just as burdened by expectation.
Her destiny is officially named by the Liverian priestess, Erethania.
Yes. Maeve is identified as the Vasmora, which translates directly as a death vessel for the goddess Morsana.
That is a monumental designation. It instantly elevates her from just a mortal girl in a persecuted village to this object of ancient reverence and massive responsibility.
And the source material is very specific. Her destiny was not predetermined at birth.
So what caused this huge shift?
Her selection happened because her original fate was altered. This is a huge piece of lore. It suggests that Zavander's earlier interference...
The Crone Witch's curse.
Maybe that, or some other pivotal action from his youth. That was the unauthorized cosmic event that required Morsana to step in and choose Maeve as her vessel to restore balance.
So their connection isn't just about the future. It's rooted in a past event that shaped the entire world's timeline.
And this destiny comes with a huge, ancient expectation. The Vasmora is supposed to restore the Lovarian bloodline by mating with their best warrior.
Which immediately creates this profound conflict with her developing relationship with Zavander, who is, the harbinger of destruction, not the paragon of Laverian strength.
The tension is fantastic. She's being pulled by religious duty toward one man, but drawn by cosmic necessity toward the other.
And her unique nature is impossible to hide. She has these unique biological and magical traits that just set her apart.
Her silver eyes, for instance.
In Mortasia, that's a fatal marker.
A mark of abomination to the Red God Zealots. But to the Laverians, it's the undeniable sign of the Vasmora and the ancient Corvicae lineage. Her destiny and her danger are right there in her gaze.
And beyond her eyes, she has these powerful visions of the dead. She sees deceased family members like her Uncle Riften and her mother.
Often in their mangled, horrific states. This is her connection to Marsana, the death goddess, manifesting as a kind of second sight, and it's tied directly to her genetics.
Her Corvicae blood, it has these rare silvery streaks.
And this blood isn't just a sign of her lineage, it's identified as being biologically crucial for the cure to the plague that's affecting the region. She is literally built to save the world.
Which brings us to where her transformation becomes visible, the accidental creation of the scaled glove.
This is a breakthrough moment for her. She gets this severe cut from the scale of the Koravugan Ravox.
A dragon or a god.
Both, it seems, and instead of healing normally, the wound fuses. It grows into this black, scaled glove with metallic nails.
And it's alive.
The sources say it has silver glyphs running through it and gives off a pulsing sensation. It's organic and physically fused to her skin.
What does that signify?
It marks her acquisition of this dragon-like or god-like power. It's a direct physical manifestation of the link between the Corvigan god and her unique biology.
The metallic nails are interesting too, given Zavander's dependency on the iron in blood for stabilization.
That's a fascinating connection to make. Is the scale of Ravox a god? A new, potent form of Vivicantum? This accidental transformation changes her capabilities entirely.
Speaking of the Corvigan, Ravox. He's Maeve's enormous, highly protective shield.
He is a fascinating entity, a being of immense power. He acts as her absolute shield, defending her and those she cares for. We see it in the standoff with Zavander, where he only backs down once Maeve claims Zavander is with me.
So he recognizes her authority.
To a point. But the sources show he has clear autonomy. He challenges the idea that she's just his master.
Right, when Maeve commands him to fly to the rotting tree to find Zavander.
He refuses, point blank. This illustrates a critical hierarchy of power. She might be the Vasmora, but she is not the sovereign master of all godlike beings. Her divine favor has limits.
Now, let's look at the most immediate practical application of her blood. Its use in the cure for the plague. This happened when her sister, Elysia, was infected.
Elysia had those terrifying symptoms: blackening eyes, erratic behavior, physical claw marks.
The similarity to Zavander's Vivicantum depletion is a crucial connection. It suggests they're both suffering from a similar affliction, a corruption of life force.
And Elysia was cured at Croven Rock Temple.
But the ritual to create that cure was deeply invasive and frightening.
It was. It required mixing Maeve's unique Corvicae blood with the silvery streaks, with the priestess's blood, and a silvery fluid called Nihilis root.
All in this highly charged, ritualistic environment.
And the sources say the process resulted in Elysia temporarily dying before she woke up completely cured.
That temporary death is the key. It suggests Morsana's direct intervention, a divine trade-off. It confirms Maeve is dealing with truly ultimate powers.
The implication is profound. Her blood isn't just a physical component, it's a sacred medium for divine transfer. But this immediately raises a huge concern for Zavander.
The priestess's warning.
Exactly. She explicitly warns Maeve that Zavander might also be infected because of the large scar on his face, which resembles Elysia's initial markings.
Which drastically raises the stakes of their physical contact. Her blood is the only known cure, which makes her his potential salvation.
But if she gets infected, or if her blood reacts negatively with his unique curse, it could also be his death. Their fated bond is literally toxic.
The personal relationships and the geopolitical threats all converge right here. Zavander and Maeve's intensely personal connection is the nexus point for global catastrophe, which brings us to our last section.
To understand the catastrophe, we have to go back to the lethality of the Eldritch glyph. We've established Zavander learned Exitius in Caligoria, a power Cadavros sought for centuries.
What makes this glyph, this complicated symbol, the ultimate threat?
Its global implication is terrifying and absolute. It is considered powerful enough to bring down the Umbervale boundary entirely.
So Zavander, the one who wields sable fire and is driven by this deep trauma, isn't just a threat to a kingdom. He is capable of fundamentally fracturing the entire geopolitical and magical structure of the world.
His power doesn't just kill people, it ends established reality.
And while he holds this destructive power, the world is facing the relentless threat of plague. The sources briefly mention the Mortar Crux, which highlights the world's desperation.
The Mortar Crux is a highly coveted vial of blood, believed to offer perfect lasting immunity. It's so valuable King Jarrett has it buried deep within his palace.
The frantic search for this cure just underscores how weak the world already is.
Exactly. It's a world already reeling from massive disease and social collapse. Zavander's untempered power could be the final blow.
And all these forces, plague, gods, barriers, they all circle back to the core of their relationship, their interconnected destinies. Their bond isn't just attraction, it's a necessary symbiotic stabilization.
They are a literal push-pull system, a negative and a positive charge holding everything in balance. Maevith is the only force capable of pulling Zavander back from his most violent fits.
The source material is so clear on this. When his eyes blacken and reality frays, the blackness gives way to familiar colors only when she touches him or speaks to him.
She is his neurological anchor, his physical connection to sanity, and that's why his realization of their bond is such a powerful turning point.
It's the ultimate confession. He finally recognizes her as his mate, his Lunamiska.
His moon witch. He calls her the steady anchor in his mind.
The moon symbolism is perfect. Temperance, rhythm, control over darkness. For a man constantly fighting an internal god of destruction, she represents the one thing that can temper his power.
But their shared destiny comes with this chilling stipulation, the ultimate price.
Morsana, the goddess Maevith is fated to serve, delivers the news directly to Zavander.
She tells him that Maevith's ultimate transcendence, when she and the goddess become one, will happen through death.
That revelation just strikes profound panic into Zavander. He has finally found his singular anchor, the only thing that saves him, and he's immediately told she has to die to fulfill her purpose.
It just cements the tragic reality that their shared destiny is inextricably linked to catastrophe. Their love is the most powerful force in the world, and it is doomed.
It's the ultimate tragedy of the source material. The two people needed to save the world are cursed to destroy each other in the process.
Which culminates in that harrowing climax at the Umbervale Archway.
After everything they fought through, they finally reach the lethal boundary to Etheria. Zavander, struggling for control, strikes the barrier.
And he's hurled backward by its immense magical force. The horror is immediate. He's left dangling over the bottomless black chasm of Netheria.
The point of no return. The true void.
The sources detail the frantic attempt to save him, his fingers, coated in thick blood, slipping through the grasp of Dravian, who is also trying to cross.
That detail, his failing grip, it just emphasizes this profound human failure against the sheer power of the Umbervale.
This incident is a devastating loss. The Umbervale has enforced the world's fracture and separated them at the worst possible moment. Maevith has lost her anchor.
And Zavander is now facing the black void, stripped of the one force capable of tempering the god of destruction inside him.
The stage is set, not for redemption, but for inevitable, untempered vengeance.
So let's quickly summarize the expansive world and the personal tragedies we've explored today. We began with a world defined by a lethal geographical division, the Umbervale, that separates the zealotry of Mortasia.
Ruled by the Red God from the potential safety of Etheria.
We analyzed Zavander, the vessel of Deimos. His power, sable fire, and the Exitius glyph is intrinsically linked to his intense physical and psychological trauma.
And his physiological dependence on Vivicantum. His destiny is pure destruction, but it was briefly and so tragically tempered by his mate.
And we met Maevith, the Vesmora, whose destiny is restoration. She carries the physical marks of her fate, the silver eyes, the living scaled glove, and her unique Corvicae blood is the key to curing the plague.
She was his Lunamiska, the steady anchor in his mind.
The ultimate takeaway from this deep dive for me is how these deeply complex systems, whether they're magical worlds or real-world conflicts, are fundamentally driven by intensely personal human conflicts.
Right. Zavander's trauma, his love for Maevith, his need for vengeance. These are the forces that now hold the power to collapse the entire world. The difference between annihilation and salvation hinged on a single touch.
And on the fate of a single soul. Seemingly small connections, like the blood Maevith shed, or Zavander's unintended interference in her fate years ago, determine the course of this world-shaking power.
It's a powerful reminder that history is often made in moments of intensely personal pain and desire.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to consider. The most powerful magic in this world, Zavander's sable fire glyph, is capable of destroying the Umbervale, of breaking the ultimate barrier.
But if Maevith is the only one who can temper his destructive power, what happens to the world now? Now that he has fallen into the void of Netheria, separated from her forever, and his immense power is fully awakened and, completely untempered by love.
What catastrophic, world-altering vengeance will the god of destruction now seek?
That is a terrible disaster in the making.
And one we hope you'll explore further in the sources you shared. Until next time, keep digging deeper.